Why would Napoleon Bonaparte send one of the largest military expeditions in French history to crush a tiny Caribbean island? Because that island wasn't just producing sugar. It was producing the money France desperately needed to survive. And when former slaves refused to surrender it, Napoleon discovered something shocking. Conquering Europe was easier than conquering Haiti. By the time he realized that, one of the greatest military disasters of his career was already unfolding. To understand this disaster, you have to look at the math. France had just survived years of revolution, political chaos, and war. The economy was battered, government finances were stretched to the breaking point, and Napoleon needed money to build his empire. He knew exactly where to find it. Saint-Domingue, the island we now call Haiti. At the time, it was the richest colony on earth. This single island generated an enormous share of French overseas wealth. Sugar, coffee, and plantation profits flowed across the Atlantic by the millions. Without Saint-Domingue, France would lose money, prestige, and much of its colonial future. This was never just about crushing a rebellion. For Napoleon, losing Haiti meant accepting that France had lost control of its most valuable possession. So he decided to take it back by force. It would become one of the greatest mistakes of his career. The problem began long before Napoleon arrived. Saint-Domingue was a machine built on brutality. A small group of French plantation owners controlled hundreds of thousands of enslaved people through violence, terror, and exploitation. The colony produced staggering wealth. But a machine built on fear has a fatal flaw. Eventually, the pressure becomes too great. In 1791, the pressure valve exploded. Plantations burned. Owners fled. Entire regions descended into chaos. France suddenly faced a nightmare of its own making. Everything that had once made the colony rich was now fueling a massive rebellion. The engine of French wealth was tearing itself apart. Paris expected the revolt to collapse. Instead, it evolved. Out of the chaos emerged an extraordinary leader, Toussaint Louverture. What happened next stunned Europe. Louverture transformed former slaves into a disciplined fighting force. He defeated rival factions. He outmaneuvered foreign invaders. He drove British and Spanish forces from the island. And every year the rebellion survived, it became more dangerous. What began as a slave uprising slowly transformed into an autonomous state with its own government, army, and leadership. The longer France waited, the harder reconquest became. By 1801, Napoleon faced two terrible choices. Choice 1. Accept reality. Allow a black-led autonomous colony to exist and continue trading with France. The risk. The example could spread across the slave societies of the Americas. Choice 2. Invade. Destroy the rebellion and restore direct French control. The risk. Launching a massive overseas war while France was still competing with powerful enemies in Europe. Neither option was attractive. But Napoleon had spent years solving impossible problems through force. The temptation to crush the island was overwhelming. The trap was officially set. Behind closed doors, the arguments began. Some officials pushed for negotiation. Others warned that a tropical war could become a disaster. But wealthy plantation owners demanded something very different. They wanted the old system restored. Many military leaders dismissed the rebels entirely. They believed trained French veterans would end the conflict within weeks. Slowly, the debate stopped being about whether France should invade. It became a discussion about how quickly victory would arrive. Almost everyone underestimated what they were about to face. Napoleon finally committed. Thousands of veteran soldiers boarded ships bound for the Caribbean. More than 50 warships crossed the Atlantic carrying one of the largest expeditionary forces France had ever assembled. Command was given to Napoleon's own brother-in-law, General Charles Leclerc. The mission was simple: restore French authority, disarm the rebels, rebuild the colony. When the massive fleet appeared on the horizon, it looked unstoppable. To outside observers, the war seemed finished before it had even begun. But the French were sailing directly into a nightmare, and their most dangerous enemy hadn't appeared yet. At first, Napoleon's plan worked. French troops captured major ports. Key territory fell. Several rebel leaders surrendered. Then came the biggest victory of all. Toussaint Louverture was arrested and shipped to France. Locked inside a freezing prison cell, he would never see Haiti again. In Paris, celebrations erupted. The rebellion appeared broken. The colony appeared recovered. For a brief moment, Napoleon got exactly what he wanted. Then everything changed. The French army had prepared for war. They had not prepared for Haiti. As the rainy season arrived, a silent killer swept through the camps. Yellow fever. Soldiers who looked healthy in the morning were dead by nightfall. Entire units vanished. Experienced officers collapsed daily. Fresh reinforcements arrived from France only to become infected themselves. The losses became catastrophic. Then the situation got even worse. News spread that Napoleon intended to restore slavery. The war instantly became existential. The people of Haiti realized exactly what defeat meant. Chains, plantations, a return to everything they had fought to escape. Resistance hardened into fury. Under leaders like Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the rebels launched relentless attacks. Now France was fighting disease. France was fighting geography. France was fighting climate. And France was fighting an entire population with absolutely nothing left to lose. The expedition began collapsing from within. The losses became impossible to replace. The surviving remnants of the French army withdrew. In 1804, the rebels declared independence. They renamed the country Haiti, and in doing so, they accomplished something extraordinary. Former slaves had defeated one of the most powerful empires on earth. The irony is staggering. Napoleon crossed Europe defeating kings, emperors, and powerful coalitions. Yet one of his greatest defeats happened on a small Caribbean island, and the consequences stretched far beyond Haiti. Without the colony he had fought so hard to recover, Napoleon abandoned his dream of a French empire in North America and sold Louisiana to the United States. In the end, Haiti exposed a truth that powerful empires repeatedly forget. Armies can conquer territory, but they struggle to defeat an entire population fighting for freedom, survival, and a future of their own. In trying to reclaim France's richest colony, Napoleon ended up losing it forever.